As a Souls game fan, I always long for the day we could run a Souls expedition alongside friends. Struggling across Elden Ring's open world, I often felt it would be better to tackle challenges with human teammates instead of relying on my best friend, the Mimic tier. Lo and behold, the release of Elden Ring Nightreign, the newest addition to the Elden Ring lineup following the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. This isn't just DLC though, it is a new take on gameplay we know and love, finally incorporating multiplayer mechanics beyond the simple finger summoning at boss gates. Queue up as a team of 3 and take on a 3-day onslaught of enemies, bosses, and prepare for a final showdown. If you saw some previews of Nightreign during its playtest period, you might have formed some preconceived opinions, as I did. After playing the game originally, I was skeptical about whether it needed to exist. How much Elden Ring can we experience before it grows a little stale? Spending an ample 40 hours of playtime in Nightreign, it erased many of my initial doubts. Although the game often put a smile on my face, I would advise extreme caution before purchasing. The game isn't bad by no means, but you should hear what I have to say first.
Noisy pixel.
The lands between were visited by a great war. The Shattering, as it was known, destroyed order itself.
Elden Ring Nightreign looks as impressive as Erdtree and even raises the bar. The character designs stand out, feel memorable, and encourage players to connect with them while mastering each unique playstyle. You can also earn costumes that suit your taste, so if a default look feels off to you, a new skin might change your mind. These skins are as well designed as the originals, giving you something worth chasing after completing expeditions. I tried every character, and each one plays differently, allowing anyone to find a preferred role. I found the most success with Wilder, a jack-of-all-trades swordsman, with Duchess as my go-to secondary pick. Wilder does prove useful in most fights for me, and team composition does matter, so if everyone picks squishy characters, you have to just dodge perfectly or you'll face trouble. Some classes are certainly harder than others, especially the Recluse Mage, which demands hawk-like awareness and deep Elden Ring skills. As a mage player myself, I felt a bit ostracized because I didn't want to sink countless hours into mastering a class that might drag my team down, so I stuck with a greatsword and dodge gameplay. But the Recluse feels a bit too demanding. 8 characters does seem sufficient for Nightreign. Normally I would ask for more variety at launch, but given the complexity and specificity of each class, this layout does work. Balance feels solid, nothing appears over or underpowered. Each character's strengths and weaknesses become clear in the gameplay. Nightreign also supplies roundtable and in-game remembrance questlines that delve into each Nightfarer's backstory. Some tasks involve routine dialogue at the roundtable, which can feel stale sometimes, but the excitement comes from traveling to specific map locations, fighting bosses, collecting items, and more in these questlines. These quests unlock rewards and, most importantly, additional chalices, which act as a new class slot. Completing these questlines does feel rewarding. Flavorful relics and chalices can complete your intended build or favorite playstyle. The make or break stakes add intrigue. I often use the default chalice, but not for every class, so these quests are worthwhile, though not always essential for success. Nightreign further deepens characters by adding skills and ultimate arts. Iron Eye, a ranged archer, can fire a massive arrow that pierces all enemies in a line, while the Executor can transform into a beast, dealing heavy damage and providing crowd control. These different abilities fit seamlessly, offering strategic choices rather than an easy edge. Use an ability too early and it might be on cooldown before your next boss fight, time it poorly and you could lose a crucial battle. Landing these abilities is always satisfying as well. Some jank exists to them, of course, like the Raider's Pillar ultimate trapping enemies awkwardly, but a little jank often feels at home in these types of games. While Nightreign reuses assets and dungeon layouts, its environmental variety and careful terrain design keeps the experience fresh. In the base game, many areas felt like dead ends. In Nightreign, every inch of the map feels purposeful, balanced, and visually striking. The map may seem small, but its verticality forces quick decisions. If you aren't familiar with the geography, it's easy to get lost or separated from your team, especially when using rift jumps, so stay close to your allies. Occasionally, the map shifts, opening sectors like a lava crater or snowy mountain. These side areas host bosses with specific ailments and offer legendary items or unique rewards. Events like these inject immersion and variety into a loop built around repetition, and they are thoughtfully placed. Because each in-game day is timed, so shifting terrain invites risk-reward choices. Nightreign carefully curates items from Elden Ring. Somber stones appear in caves, mage upgrades in spires, stone sword keys in hidden nooks, and more. You rarely pick up meaningless loot, instead items serve clear purposes such as exploiting final boss weaknesses or other boosts you might find purposeful. Finding lightning grease in a fire-themed expedition is pretty rare, so Nightreign uses purposeful design that replaces Elden Ring's mountain of unused trinkets and consumables. Nightreign can certainly feel repetitive, yet random events, character invasions, epic bosses, shifting earths, hidden clues keep discovery feeling alive in this game. Although the map stays largely the same, these events offer fresh challenges and extra rewards. Weapon and build variety thrive as well. The loot pool is large, including gear, spells, and incantations you may have just ignored before in the base game. Sometimes the game forces you to adapt by using a weapon you just found, encouraging broader experimentation. You can also practice freely at the sparring grounds. Enemy variety strikes a balance. Nightreign's unique final bosses do stand out, while many bosses return from Elden Ring without appearing too frequently. This lets players memorize mechanics without feeling overwhelmed, and supports the game's budding speedrun culture. Side and mini bosses rotate each match, adding mystery. Sometimes you'll face a boss you dread. That's part of Nightreign. You have to master everything the game throws at you. After defeating a set number of Nightlord bosses, you unlock the final boss, which introduces a new region and layout, offering welcome visual change. Without spoilers, the final boss feels less dramatic than earlier encounters with other Nightlords, yet that restrained finish feels earned. Nightreign is so demanding beforehand that a breather is pretty welcome by the end. For a $40 game, I prefer a satisfying conclusion over another endless roadblock that I have to do again. Even after 40 hours, I still have tons of questlines to finish, relics and challenges to collect, and secrets to uncover. Though repetitive, Nightreign is remarkably deep for a spin-off without a traditional story mode. You get your money's worth if you invest the time, and Elden Ring's core gameplay is a blast in multiplayer. Summoning a friend for a boss in Elden Ring only scratches the surface compared to the shared sweat of fighting Nightreign's Nightlords. I have a lot of good things to say about Nightreign, but here's what's wrong with Nightreign, because it's just hard for an average gamer to appreciate, and here's why. Nightreign goes like this. Queue up, enter a fast-paced arcade-style Elden Ring, die. Receive modest relic rewards. Queue again. Die again. Die. 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 For many gamers, this loop will break their sanity. Nightreign is a Souls player's dream, but remains brutally difficult for average players. If you struggled with Elden Ring, you may want to wait on this. Every match starts at level 1, leaving players vulnerable. Unlike Elden Ring's gradual progression at your own pace, Nightreign pushes you into a loot-dependent scramble. Matches move so fast that pausing too long can doom your run. Passive scaling demands wise inventory choices. If you aren't fluent in Elden Ring's systems, prepare for countless deaths while you learn. I would consider myself pretty good at Elden Ring, clearing the base game and Erdtree DLC in respectable time. Yet Nightreign pummeled me for 30 hours straight. Early success lulled me into the gameplay, and with voice chat, my team beat the first two bosses very quickly, including the Gaping Jaw, which is often regarded as the toughest, I guess, I don't know. After 6 to 8 hours, my experience soured tremendously. Voice chat proved critical at this point, and Because I was playing without it, 99% of my games ended in defeat, and the meager rewards left me wondering what I'd done for the past hour. Repeated losses over and over again eroded my morale, and even near-perfect runs, high levels, great weapons can crumble instantly at the final boss at one hit. In Elden Ring, losing to a boss lets you hop back in immediately to practice. You can keep dying and keep doing it over and over again. But in Nightreign, you must slog through 30 to 60 minutes for another shot at fighting the boss. If you even reach the boss, that is. It's demoralizing at the very least, and I worry many players will just give up. From Software built Nightreign around teamwork and precise coordination, leaving little room for failure. When you die without recovering runes or your lost levels, your run might as well just be doomed right there. A single mistake can cost you a whole hour, because if you leave, you'll get penalized. Without 2 dedicated Elden Ring friends, or luck with random teammates, frustration mounts, and player bases may just dwindle. I like Nightreign a lot, but its harsh design narrows its audience dramatically. Relics grant buffs such as increased health, elemental damage, or other perks. Smaller relics rarely feel impactful unless they stack into a build, while the larger relics shine. Oddly, relics sold at the Jar Bazaar often outclass those earned in-game. End-of-match relics can disappoint, flooding your inventory with scraps you sell for very little merc. I mostly ignored lesser relics and focused on builds centered around quest rewards or lucky finds. The pace of this game is relentless. You rush through dungeons, often skipping enemies and looting only what matters. Discovery feels less thrilling when loot spawns in the same places every match. The new jump mechanic helps movement, but Elden jank still causes occasional mishaps on walls and cliffs. Mastering the rift jump is also essential, yet collision quirks do persist. Nightrein's tutorial is very brief, most learning happens through trial and error, and the in-game codex is helpful, but dense. Map icons could better indicate completed areas, and more incentives to visit underused locations would freshen routing. In over 30 hours, I climbed only 2 spires, yet I stormed the central castle almost every run. In terms of performance, I had a few issues with stability, frame rate, or overall connection. Occasionally, I saw frames dip at 4K, but input latency was generally fine. There were moments when attacks registered a little late, yet the game still reacted normally. Throughout my entire review session, I disconnected only once. At 1440p, the game ran even better, and at 4K, my PC averaged 50 to 60 frames per second on a 4070 Ti with a Ryzen 9. Elden Ring Nightreign drove me a little crazy, and I listed many negatives, but if you have the skill and the nerve to challenge it, Nightreign is great. Defeating each Nightlord left me shouting with relief. The game's visuals, mechanics, and loops stand out in today's gaming landscape. Yes, the difficulty alienates casual players, but for diehard Souls fans seeking teamwork-heavy challenges, Nightreign will remain memorable. As frustrating and ruthless as it is, it successfully blends multiple genres into competitive problem solving. Still, I would hesitate to recommend it widely. I often just wanted the review to end because I was tired of losing. Without friends online and with losses piling up, burnout just was creeping in. Any time away of the game will just dull your muscle memory and reduce your chances of punishing these bosses back. Good luck, Nightfarer. You'll need it. Noisy Pixel is giving Elden Ring Nightreign an 8 out of 10. I wrestled with the score, trust me, considering lower options, but the game delivers significant fan service for Souls players, and for that audience, it will shine. If you lack extensive Elden Ring experience, you just may want to pass on this one. Noisy Pixel is a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all of our future content.
Noisy Pixel.